At the time, you're right. I was asked to chair a. My last 5 years of my career until 2009. I represented Amphenol in an association called the Next Generation of Mobile Network, and this was all the world carriers like Chinatel and Koreatel and KMW and all those guys created this association so that we could talk about architecture of the 5G, so that they have a common platform across the world, frequency, power, the whole works. And they wanted to talk about autonomous cars. And they had asked me if I would chair it with it was a tri-chair. There was myself from the network perspective. There was a gentleman from Chinatel, and there was a gentleman from BMW. And we talked about autonomous, and autonomous cars is really a little bit of a mixture. People talk about autonomous car, and to be honest, and I don't mean to offend anybody here, but a lot of people don't know what that is. There's driverless cars. There's five or I think it's about 10. Yeah, there's 10 layers of autonomous cars. So if you have a new car like a Toyota, like I have a Toyota Sienna, and it has lane deviation, notification of side, backup camera that allows me to and notifies me if somebody's coming my way. That is a level one autonomous. It allows the driver to it assists the driver and becomes safer on their drive. Is it autonomous? It has some autonomy to it because it makes decision for the driver saying, "Hey, there's somebody in front of you," like the smart cruise control, where it gives you a distance. It allows you to have a distance between a car in front of you. It will automatically brake for you if it sees a car stopping and you're too fast. It has some autonomy because it makes decision for you by sensors and radars and so on. The closest one that's fairly autonomous is the Tesla. There's another one called the Rubix. GM is coming out and Ford is coming out with it, but they're not fully autonomous because they need a map. They use the map system as a guideline for the car to be driven. So you can actually let go of the steering wheel and it will drive for you, and it will actually do a lot of the driving. I would use that on the highway more than anything else, because if you use that in the city and they have construction, then you have a bigger problem because the autonomy won't recognize the construction. Um, the next generation, the generation of 8, 9, and 10, will be when the car actually communicates with the network, the 5G network or the 6G network, which is currently in session. And what it will do is it will allow the car to be notified of accidents and detours and so on and so forth. I believe that autonomous is there already, but it will always need the human being there. In Singapore, they have autonomous cars, and I remember landing in Singapore and being picked up by a taxi, and there was no drivers, absolutely no drivers in the car, and it was automated, and there was a gentleman from the dispatch asked me where I wanted to go. I told him I was going to go to this hotel. Now, it's an hour and 20-minute drive to the hotel with no driver, and I'm sitting in the back seat, and I start to read about it, and that car has some decision to make. Guess who is the number one priority in the autonomous car? The pedestrian. If it sees a pedestrian and it has a camera and it knows a human structure by algorithms. If it notices a person in the road, it will crash the car rather than hit him or her, which means that whoever's in the car may get damaged. That's immaterial because the car saved the pedestrian. So there will always be a need for somebody to be there to make decisions in the car. It will drive itself, but somewhere along the line, it's like an airplane, right? It'll give a point A to point B. It'll fly you there, but the automated pilot will not land you. You will get the pilot to land you. because of all the unknown unpredictability of the landing or the driving is not computerized. And so you have to do that. It was a really interesting committee because we talked about, when you get into these committees, you talk about, oh, this is what it's capable of doing. Here's the function. Here's what it's going to do. Here's the way we're going to implement it. We're going to add more sensors. We're going to add this. We're going to add software and so on and so forth. But then you start talking about, what about security? There's a lot of hackers out there. If you're sitting on the network, what's going to prevent somebody to take over your car? How do you prevent that? How do you prevent somebody from changing the parameters in your car? How do you prevent somebody from uploading software in your car? And all those topics are never talked about, and they're still there. And people will have to, the car companies are going to have to take care of that, because car companies, the automotive industry, their primary goal in life is not to get sued because it's their fault. So they don't take a lot of risk. That's why the OnStar platform was difficult for us initially, because we had to guarantee you could get a phone call through if there was an accident. The automotive industry does not want to be caught in a situation where the car is at fault. The car manufacturing had a defect in it. I mean, think about the tires with Ford. Think about the Pintos with the Ford, and the Bobcats and so on. The Corvair